Hi, I'm Cheng Thom, and this is a spoken word performance for Brickyard Books. Slam to dispel loneliness. When your mother hits you, do not strike back. That's from Jean Ann Verlee's Unsolicited Advice to Adolescent Girls with Crooked Teeth and Pink Hair. Do not sleep with boys to whom your body means nothing unless their bodies mean nothing to you. Eat bacon. Eat lots of it. The whole goddamn pack if you have to. Go with the tofu kind if pork is impossible. There is a saying that nothing tastes as good as thin feels. There is also a saying that you are what you eat. Go with the latter and know that you are delicious. Start talking to your shadow. Tell it all of the horrible and pathetic things you've ever done. The time you said, I love you, when what you should have said was, I love to fuck you, and all the times you suspect someone told you that very lie. How you dated them anyway. How you shed your clothes as though you were trying to shed your inhibitions, your memories, your weaknesses, yourself. The times you said fuck you, when you should have said thank you. When you said I'm leaving, when you should have said I'm sorry. When you've told all there is to tell, start listening to your shadow. Let it tell you the story of everything you have survived and everything you hope to be. Bittersweet comfort for a bittersweet soul. Bittersweetness is a taste you must acquire. Do not sleep with boys to whom your body means nothing unless their bodies mean nothing to you. Call your mother. You don't have to like her, just call her, don't be afraid. There is nothing she can do to you that she hasn't already done. You're already screwed up for life, and one conversation will not make matters worse. Call your mother lovely, because she is. Call her brave, because mothers are. Call her a bitch, because you have both been waiting a lifetime for that word to leave your lips, and you need to get it over with. Call her out on getting your gender wrong. Call her out on trying to raise you, a good Chinese boy, a concert pianist, a heterosexual, a conservative. Call her out for not being there. Call her out for being human. Call her out for being hurt. Call her out for dying little by little right before your eyes. Call her a ma, because she raised you, a good Chinese boy. When he asks you to send him pictures of your private parts before the first date, say no. When he asks you to go down on him without offering to return the favor, say no. When he asks you if he can call you his little bitch in bed, say no and then think about it again. And if it's really something you might enjoy, work out a consensual arrangement that satisfies you both. When he asks you to bring him orange juice after having sex, say no. When he asks you if you can bareback, ask him to define the term and then say no. When he asks to make you breakfast, say no. When he asks you if you love him, say that the word has lost all meaning through overuse and you refuse to be bound by the tyranny of cliché, to say no to stay in practice. Say no because you can. Do not sleep with boys to whom your body means nothing unless their bodies mean nothing to you. Remember that it is your job to ask your friends for help and their job to come through if they can. It is your responsibility to explain your frailty and your lovers not to break you, that it is your right to be who you are and your family's privilege to call you a part of it. Remember. It is your job to tell the truth and your listeners to believe you. It is your father's job to believe you. It is your social worker's job to believe you. It is your therapist's job to believe you. It is your best friend's job to believe you, to believe you, to believe you, to believe you, to believe you. It is your God's job to believe you. Do not sleep with boys to whom your body means nothing unless their body means nothing to you. Fall in love whenever you can. Fall in love because you can. This poem is for all my trans sisters. It's called Poem About a Uterus. All I want for Christmas is my two front teeth, my two front teeth, my two front teeth. All I want for Christmas is a fucking uterus, okay? Or maybe girl hips, maybe girl hands, maybe girl lips to scream my demands. Every year for 10 years, I wrote hate mail to the North Pole. Every night I bowed, my head hair shorn short, and thinking wistfully of luscious locks long as willow vines, parted my lips in prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. You can have the soul, Lord. You can keep the soul, Lord, if only you'll give me the body I wanted. 10 years later, I am done making deals with the Lord, because I don't need his charity, don't need his mercy, don't need the hope he doles out $1 at a time. I am done with it. Done writing grant applications for the life I could have had, the songs I could have sung, the mother I could have been. I am done, because at last I can feel something stirring down there, down deep in the shadowy hollows and blood-stained spaces of my sinner's body. Call me crazy, but I do believe that I can give birth. Life, or something like it, does stir in me, here deep in this faggot's flesh. Believe me, baby, this ain't your grandma's miracle. Believe me, someday the whole wide world is gonna tremble at what my womb can do. My labor pangs will cause earthquakes, motherfuckers. Twisting and turning in the widening gyre, writhing and shaking in the breach, sweat searing like lava off mango chili spiced skin, I will give way to squalling new life forms, become a biological arms factory for the consensual biogenocide of the current regime, and they'll burst fully grown, my babies, flesh salty as the sea, raw-ripped, fire-eyed, tongues flashing between lips red as hearts desperate to taste the three air. Stumbling, multi-hued, gnarl-limbed, howling their names in all the languages we've ever forgotten, they'll run naked through New York, through Paris, through Montreal, through Rome, through Shanghai, through Baghdad, through London, through Mumbai, naked, unstoppable, my children, an army of delinquent, misshapen messiahs, Lilith screeching in their wake. They'll halt traffic and smash pet store windows, setting all the birds and puppies free, seduce the policemen and business people and soldiers, politicians and priests and royalty, rip their clothes off and drag them down to the river, down to the sea, down to make love insensate with lust in the place where water and sand meet, and then my children will go to the North Pole. They'll incite the elves to form a union and the reindeer to rebellion. My daughters will make love to Mrs. Claus, and they'll run away to Montauk together. My babies will take old Santee hostage, cut off his beard, and force him to answer all the difficult questions. Why do the white kids and the rich kids get better presents? Who decides in the grand bureaucracy of the universe who gets which body parts, which destiny, which parents, which fortune? If we took all the teeth every child ever lost to the machine of war, to fists on a playground, to their parents' rage, and sacrificed them all, would the tooth fairy give us enough quarters to end world poverty? How many queer kids, brown kids, yellow kids, punk girls, princess boys have to die before someone answers our prayers? And then my children will run into the sea once more, ride the waves of an orgasm up to heaven, form a picket line outside the pearly gates, and declare a sit-in in paradise, waving signs that read "No passports for entry to heaven," and "No borders in the Democratic Socialist Republic of God." They'll dance and stomp till sky and earth tremble, and the Lord is forced to listen at last. Do you believe in me, Lord? Do you believe in me? Do you believe in me? My body, my baby. What dark gift, what rough child, what beautiful beast, its century come round at last, slouches toward my belly to be born. This is generic, angry, spoken word poem. This is a generic, angry, spoken word poem. It is a poem of color and probably a lesbian. It is loud, and it is rude, and it is too direct. And there are professors and editors out there who would say it's not actually a poem at all. And it's tired and kind of sweaty, and if you want to know the truth, it doesn't really want to be here right now. But to be honest, it wasn't given much of a choice. This poem wasn't always angry or spoken word. It used to just be a cute little baby poem wearing a bib and hand-me-down clothes when its mother found in a bin at Value Village. It used to take piano lessons with a blind old Ukrainian poem who lived at the edge of Poetry Town and whose house always smelled like cabbage. And this little poem used to read the poetry fashion magazines and imagine the day when it would be a silent, subtle stream of silvery words walking fierce and sylph-like down a runway of the minds of readers all across the world. It used to dream of wearing gossamer metaphors like mysterious magical fabric woven from fallen words, like blood-stained angel feathers drifting down from the heavens. But this poem was always sort of chubby, and it had the wrong skin tone for gossamer metaphors, and all the wrong body parts. And to be honest, it just wasn't pretty. Or nobody ever thought it was pretty, which is exactly the same thing. When this poem was a teenage poem, it fell in love. It fell in love with other poems, mostly celebrity poems by white people like T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland and Yeats' Byzantium. It spent all of its time not doing homework from poetry school, instead staring at the faces of these poems for hours, being angsty, repeating to itself over and over, that dolphin torn, that gong tormented sea, that dolphin torn, that gong tormented sea, that dolphin torn, that gong tormented sea, as if those words could be prayer, as if God could be poem, and as if poems could make things happen. Yes, as if poems could make things happen. And then this teenage poem met another poem, an ironic love poem. And this ironic love poem was like so annoying. It was ironic and full of itself and just so disenfranchised and made fun of everything. Well, and it was kind of goofy and good looking. And this little poem went head over heels. And they spent time hanging out in poetry gardens made of vast, dark origami flowers, drifting in the placid, icy emptiness of intertextual space, and it was exquisite and ethereal and transcendent until one day this little poem kissed the ironic love poem on the lips, and the ironic love poem and leaned back and wrinkled its elegantly ironic nose and said, "I'm really sorry, but I'm not into poetry of color." And this little poem went traveling. This little poem went looking for a home. And on its way, this little poem saw baby poems, emaciated, saw poems lying naked in clear, empty rooms without doors, saw the flesh of poems being roasted like chicken meat. It saw the blood of poems trickling down the street singing, "In the dark times, in the dark times, in the dark times." And this poem had to be angry to survive. This little poem is still walking. This little poem is still waiting. This angry spoken word poem is looking for a way out. This angry spoken word poem wants for a different time. This angry spoken word poem wants to be small again, to be silly again. This angry spoken word poem wants to not be political. This generic political poem wants to be unique. This poem wants to be little and pretty and literary and white. This poem wants to be silent when all it knows how to do now is scream. This poem wants to not be so angry. But this is a generic angry spoken word poem. And if you want to know the truth, it doesn't really want to be here. It just wasn't given much of a choice. This last piece is called Blessing. If in the mornings you are afflicted by the weight of some unshakable sadness, remember, blessed are the haunted, for we are never alone. Look down at the veins in your hands. If you look carefully, you can see the threads of history knotted there, thin as hope and inextricable as your family's secrets. Put 2 fingers to the pulse in your wrist. That's your ancestors' heartbeat, ancestors' heartbeat, ancestors' heartbeat, heartbeat, heartbeat. Faint but still persistent after all this time, after all this time. You stupid child. You never lost them. You could not if you tried. There are languages you do not speak, but still mutter in your veins. There are dreams you don't remember, but still color your waking. Never forget. You weren't born. You were made. Like a wish, like a promise, like a pact. You were made like a sacrifice in the old country with an iron blade, a splash of blood, and a handful of pomegranate seeds on a stone altar. You come from sacrifice and from struggle, from a vitality beyond reason. Get up, child. Tie ribbons around your ankles. Put a coin under your tongue. There is dancing to do, flesh to be cooked. There are berries to gather and knives to sharpen. This life is ceremony. This life is war. Eat voraciously. Refuse to disappear. Don't just learn to live with your demons, seduce them with teeth and tongue. Make love to the skeletons in the closet, the shadows behind the doors. You were taught that shrinking and silence are survival, but this has always been a lie. Speak your pain. Speak your bones. Speak with the voice of 1,000 ghosts. You are not alone, child. You are never alone. Thank you very much.